Everyone's talking about the Great Awakening like it's a TikTok trend, but what if I told you that this moment was predicted for centuries by philosophers, mystics, and scientists alike? Right now, millions of people feel disoriented. They're questioning their realities, their relationships, and their purpose. They think that something's wrong with them, when in truth, something massive is happening to all of us. I'm Candace Evelenko, a former registered nurse turned spiritual integrative coach. I bridge science and soul to help people stabilize through awakening, release fear, and embody their higher consciousness as we enter the turning of the age. By the end of this video, you'll see how humanity's evolution of consciousness has always followed a pattern, and that what feels like chaos is actually the birth of something extraordinary. The truth is, what we are living through right now isn't random. It's not just chaos for chaos' sake, and it's not a coincidence. It's the next stage of human evolution, and every single system that we've built is feeling the strain of our growth. What we're calling the Great Awakening isn't a brand new spiritual trend. It's something that philosophers, mystics, and scientists have been pointing to for centuries, and we are literally living in the timeline that they foresaw right now. The moment where humanity outgrows its old operating system. You can see it everywhere. Institutions collapsing, relationships breaking down, people questioning everything that they were told to believe. It feels like the world is falling apart, but what's actually happening is that consciousness is reorganizing itself. We're waking up from a collective trance that said, this is all there is. And we're remembering that reality is not something happening to us, it's something happening through us. We are the bridge between biology and divinity, learning to wield consciousness consciously in a brand new way for the first time. And that's what this moment is. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of an age, the turning of one way of being into another. That's why it feels like everything is shaking loose. It's because it is. Old identities, old beliefs, old ways of surviving, they can't come with us where we're going. And here's the part that blows my mind. People have been predicting this exact shift for generations. Not just mystics sitting on mountaintops, but psychologists and philosophers and scholars. People who understood that consciousness itself evolves over time. They each saw it from a different perspective, but they all pointed to the same truth, that humanity would eventually reach a point where we could no longer live disconnected from our own divine natures. If you've been feeling that tension and pull between who you've been and who you're becoming, it's not just you. It's the collective metamorphosis moving through you. You're not broken and you're not crazy. You're just waking up a little bit early. But there is a purpose and a silver lining because you were born for such a time as this. If this is hitting home already, do me a favor, hit the like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to this channel, not just because it helps this video reach more people who are waking up too, but because this channel is where we bring proof and practicality to spiritual transformation. And if you want to go deeper into this work to actually understand what's happening in your body, mind, and spirit as you go through this awakening, consider joining my free community, The Fire, at thefire.circle.so. It's where we walk this path together, integrating what's rising and building what comes next. And if you're ready for your next level, learn how to work with me at thefireunleashed.com/workwithme. Now, let's dive into these incredible minds who foresaw where we're standing today. When you start looking at the roots of this awakening, one of the clearest voices who saw it coming was Carl Jung. Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist, and what made him so different from others in his field was that he didn't just study the mind, he studied the soul inside the mind. He believed that beneath our personal stories and traumas, there's something deeper, a shared layer of consciousness that connects every human being on the planet. He called it the collective unconscious, and within it live all of our archetypes, myths, fears, instincts, and desires. It's the raw blueprint of humanity itself. Now, here's where it gets wild. Jung said humanity would one day be forced to confront everything that we've buried in that collective shadow, the greed, control systems, and the projections and the denial. Everything that we didn't want to see, because until we integrate the shadow, we can't step into our wholeness. He also wrote about the age of Aquarius, a symbolic period when humanity would move from hierarchy and dogma into individuation and inner authority. That's what we're seeing now, the collapse of old systems, religions, politics, education, and even relationships. It's the psyche of the collective reorganizing itself in real time. This is the same process that happens inside an individual who goes through awakening. Everything that isn't true starts to burn away. The same thing is happening at scale in the collective. Our collective nervous system is detoxing centuries of repression, and that's why so many people are feeling anxiety, confusion, and panic, because our biology is designed to seek homeostasis and safety. It's meant to grab the familiar, but awakening demands that we leave it. It asks us to let go of the old version of ourselves, and that can be terrifying to the ego. What Jung taught and what we're living is that the darkness isn't the enemy, it's the doorway. When we face what's been hidden, both personally and collectively, we activate the next level of consciousness. And that's why shadow work, trauma integration, and nervous system regulation, all of these modern tools that are coming up, are not just trendy self-help. They're the living continuation of Jung's prophecy. We are literally doing what he said that we would, integrating shadow and spirit to become whole. Now, if Jung gave us the map of the inner world, our second great mind, Jean Gebser, gave us the map of awakening through time itself. He was a German-Swiss philosopher who studied how human awareness has actually mutated over history, not just at the level of our DNA, but in the way that we perceive reality. Gebser said that consciousness doesn't evolve the way that technology does. It unfolds in waves. Each wave adds a new dimension of experience. First was the archaic, the newborn state of simple being, pure survival with no separation. Then came the magic structure, when humans saw the world as alive, everything connected by spirit and symbol. After that, the mythic, when stories, gods, and religions gave meaning and moral order. Then came the mental, logic, reasoning, science, the age that built our modern world. But Gebser warned that the mental stage, if it became too dominant, would eventually fracture. The mind would overanalyze itself into exhaustion, and humanity would lose touch with direct experience. Sound familiar? That's exactly where we've been living, a world obsessed with data, progress, and proof, but starving for soul. He predicted that when the old mental world reached its breaking point, a new structure would start to emerge, what he called the integral or aperspectival consciousness, a state where opposites no longer need to fight for dominance, where science and spirituality, inner and outer, masculine and feminine, logic and intuition, they could finally coexist without one canceling out the other. That's the stage that we're birthing right now. You can feel it in conversations about quantum physics, meeting mysticism, in trauma-informed spirituality, in the way that we're learning that energy and matter are the same language spoken at different speeds. Gebser said that the integral stage would reveal that time itself isn't linear, that past, present, and future are interwoven in consciousness. That's why so many of us are waking up remembering things that we never studied, seeing patterns in everything, or feeling like the veil between dimensions is thinning. The integral human experiences life as both inner and outer creation, a participatory universe. And here is the beautiful part. Gebser didn't see this as something that we have to create. He said that it's something already here, becoming visible as soon as we stop resisting it. The integral isn't a new belief system, it's a new way of being. We are the generation witnessing that mutation of awareness in the moment where consciousness stops being an idea and starts being lived. Now, if Gebser gave us the map of awakening through time, our third great thinker, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, gave us the map of awakening through evolution itself. Teilhard was a Jesuit priest, a paleontologist, and a mystic, a man who somehow managed to walk with one foot in the church and the other in the cosmos. He studied fossils and human origins, but what he discovered went far beyond biology. He saw evolution not as a random series of accidents, but as a divine process, one that's guiding humanity towards a higher form of consciousness. Teilhard believed that the entire universe is moving towards something that he called the omega point, a moment when all individual consciousness converges into unity, into what he described as the mind of Christ, or the full realization of divine awareness within humanity. And along that path, he said that we would develop what he called the noosphere, a planetary mind. The noosphere was his way of describing the next layer of evolution, beyond the biosphere of life, a web of consciousness connecting every human brain, every thought, every innovation into one living network. And when you look at the world right now, we have the internet, artificial intelligence, our constant interconnection across the globe. You can see the noosphere taking shape in real time. Teilhard believed that technology was not separate from spirit. It was how spirit evolves through matter. He saw it as the universe waking up to itself, using human hands and human inventions as instruments. The collective mind that we're building, for better or worse, is proof of that. And just like every stage of evolution before it, this one comes with growing pains. Teilhard warned that we'd have to pass through a period of fragmentation first, where humanity's inventions would outpace its maturity, where the technology would connect us faster than our hearts could keep up with. Sound familiar? That's exactly what we're living. But he also said that eventually we'd remember that evolution isn't about domination or control. It's about unification, consciousness expanding through the cooperation, compassion, and creativity of its people. The end goal was never separation. It was always synthesis. Teilhard's message was simple but revolutionary. We are not just evolving biologically. We are evolving spiritually. And whether we realize it or not, every breakthrough, every crisis, and every connection is pulling us towards that omega point, towards remembering that we are one consciousness waking up through billions of eyes. If Teilhard gave us the map of awakening through evolution, our fourth great mind, Sri Aurobindo, gave us the map of awakening through embodiment itself. Aurobindo was an Indian philosopher, yogi, and revolutionary who spent his life exploring how the divine could actually descend into human form, not as an idea or a vision, but as a lived reality. He called this force the supramental consciousness, the next stage of evolution beyond the mind. What Aurobindo taught was radical for his time. He said enlightenment wasn't meant to lift us out of the human experience, it was meant to inhabit it fully. Ascension, in his words, isn't an escape from earth, it's the divine coming down into matter. Heaven finding its home inside our bodies. He saw the human being as a bridge between spirit and matter, the place where those two worlds meet and fuse, and he believed that eventually this supramental consciousness would awaken through humanity collectively, transforming not just individuals, but the entire fabric of life. What's powerful is how that mirrors what we're now understanding about trauma and nervous system healing. We know that you can't ascend by bypassing your pain. You can't reach the light by denying the dark. The body has to be part of the awakening because that's where the old patterns live. When we regulate, when we breathe, and when we let the fire move through us instead of resisting it, we're doing exactly what Aurobindo described. We're inviting the higher consciousness to anchor inside our nervous system. We're literally bringing heaven into ourselves. And that changes everything. Because the more that we embody that divine awareness, the less we seek it outside of ourselves. The more present we become, the more loving we become, and the more capable we are of creating a world that reflects that same consciousness. Aurobindo didn't see the future as a place that we ascend to. He saw it as a frequency that we learn to hold. And right now, that's what we're learning together. We're remembering that the path upward is also a path inward, and that the soul's real evolution happens when the divine finally takes a deep breath inside the human form. We've just walked through 4 of the greatest minds in human history, each one proving that what's happening now is real. This isn't a fad, and it isn't something that you're imagining. Humanity is awakening, and if you're watching this, you're part of that wave. And maybe you've been trying to navigate it alone, trying to make sense of who you're becoming while still holding up the life that you built before all of this started. I get that. That's exactly why I do what I do. As a spiritual integrative coach, I work one-to-one with people who are in the in-between, who are awake but still figuring out how to live what they know. This isn't about giving you another system or framework. It's about meeting you where you are and helping you bridge what's awakening inside of you with the reality that you're living every day. It's deep, personal, grounded work and completely tailored to your energy, your story, and your timing. So if you know that you're ready for that level of guidance, click the link in the description or watch the pinned video on my channel to learn more about how we can work together. And if you're not quite there yet, but you still want support, community, and live connection, come join the fire. It's my free space for awakened souls to learn, connect, and grow together while we prepare for the next wave of evolution. And if I didn't say it before, it's completely free. You'll find the link below. All right, let's keep going. Because if Aurobindo gave us the map of awakening through embodiment, our 5th great mind, Sri Yukteswar, gave us the map of awakening through cycles themselves. Yukteswar was the teacher of Paramahansa Yogananda, and he challenged the traditional timelines of the Yuga cycles, vast cosmic ages described in ancient Indian wisdom. According to the older calendar, humanity was believed to be in a long, dark age, but Yukteswar said that that was a miscalculation. He revealed that we've already been ascending for centuries, that around the year 1700, we re-entered Dvarpa Yuga, the age of energy and light. In this new era, he said that humanity would begin to understand that everything is vibration, that energy is the true foundation of matter, and consciousness the current that moves it all. Look around today. Energy medicine, quantum physics, frequency healing, even the language of vibes and resonance are in everyday life now. None of this is random. It's the awakening of the Dvarpa Yuga, exactly as Yukteswar described, a collective remembering that everything is energy and energy is divine intelligence in motion. He believed that as this awareness deepens, human beings will eventually realize that light and consciousness are the same thing, that the universe itself is alive, intelligent, and responsive. And that's why those of us who are awakening now are so drawn to frequency work, sound healing, and energetic alignment. We're not following a trend. We're fulfilling a cycle. Yukteswar's message reminds us that what feels new is actually ancient. The awakening that we're living is part of a cosmic rhythm, one heartbeat in an eternal pulse. If Yukteswar gave us the map of awakening through cycles, our 6th great mind, Dane Rudhyar, gave us the map of awakening through the planet itself. Rudhyar was an astrologer, composer, and philosopher, one of the first to bridge ancient symbolism with modern psychology. He looked at astrology not as fortune-telling, but as the cosmic language of evolution. To him, the planets weren't external forces controlling us. They were mirrors reflecting where consciousness itself was growing and transforming. He coined the phrase, the planetarization of consciousness. He said humanity would eventually reach a point where we could no longer see ourselves as separate nations, separate races, or separate faiths, but as one species, one planetary organism, learning to cooperate with the living earth that sustains us. And look at where we are now. Every crisis that we face, climate, war, economics, technology, is planetary in scale. We're being forced to think beyond borders because the problems that we've created don't stop at borders. Rudhyar said this pressure would come and that it would push humanity through a collective initiation from ego identity to planetary identity. He believed that astrology's true purpose wasn't to predict the future, but to remind us of our participation in a greater cosmic order, to help us remember that consciousness doesn't end at the edge of our skin. The same intelligence that moves the planet is what moves us. That's why astrology has resurfaced so powerfully today. It's not superstition returning, it's meaning returning. We're using the stars again as a mirror, not just a map. We're doing it to remember who we are in the bigger story. When you really think about it, everything that we're living through, the chaos, the polarization, the global breakdown, it's all part of Rudhyar's prophecy. The old ego-centered world is dissolving and a new planetary consciousness is being born. And maybe that's why even in the middle of so much destruction, you can still feel that quiet thread of connection. This knowing that somehow, despite everything, we are in this together. That's the seed of the new humanity taking root. Now, on to our last great mind. If Rudhyar gave us the map of awakening through the planet, our seventh great mind, J. Krishnamurti, gave us the map of awakening through the self. Krishnamurti was never interested in being a guru. In fact, he spent his life dismantling that idea. When he was young, an organization tried to crown him a world teacher, and he dissolved it overnight. He stood on that stage and said, "Truth is a pathless land." He meant that no institution, no teacher, no system could ever deliver liberation to you. It had to ignite from within. Real awakening couldn't be organized. It had to be realized. Krishnamurti foresaw that as the old structures of religion, politics, and hierarchy began to crumble, the real revolution would have to happen inside each person. He said that the world is a reflection of the human mind. If the mind is divided, the world will be divided. So the only way to change the collective was for each individual to become radically aware, awake, undivided, and responsible for their own consciousness. And that's what we're seeing now. Institutions are breaking apart because they were built on the belief that authority lives outside of us. But people are remembering that wisdom has always lived within us. This is the wildfire he talked about, awakening, moving one nervous system at a time. Every person who heals their trauma, who regulates their body, who integrates their shadows. Everyone who starts to listen to that still, clear inner voice. They become a transmitter of coherence in a chaotic world, each one becoming a quiet revolution. Krishnamurti taught that freedom isn't the end of the path, it's the beginning of responsibility. Because once you wake up, you realize there's no one left to follow. There's only the life that wants to move through you. And when enough of us start living from that place, the collective shifts automatically. He didn't leave us with a doctrine. He left us with an invitation. Know yourself completely and you change the world without even trying. And that is where we stand now. That is the fire being unleashed. Everything we've talked about, every vision, every prophecy, every map of consciousness has been leading us here to us. This is the moment these minds foresaw. The awakening isn't something distant or abstract. It's happening through our nervous systems, through our relationships, through every choice we make to meet truth instead of run from it. This is why I created the Fire Unleashed. It isn't a brand, it's a movement. It's a space for people who know that they were born for such a time as this, to remember who they are, reclaim their power, and participate in the evolution of humanity by anchoring it into their bodies and into their lives. My mission is simple: to help you uncover the shift that's already happening inside of you, to help you anchor it so deeply in your body that it radiates into the world around you through coherence, through compassion, through conscious action. Because this evolution doesn't happen to us. It happens through us. And it begins the moment that you choose to stop waiting for the world to change and you start becoming the change itself. So here is my invitation. If you're ready to embody this, not just talk about it, this is your moment. You can work with me one-to-one if you're ready for that deep personal transformation, that bespoke journey into your own becoming. Or you can join the fire, my free community where we rise together, sharing tools, live calls, and connection as we walk this awakening side by side. The links are in the description below. Either way, don't leave this video inspired and unchanged. Choose your part in this. Choose to ignite your own fire, because when enough of us do, the world itself will transform. I'm Candace Evelenko, and this is the Fire Unleashed. Awaken, rise, build the new earth, for you were born for such a time as this. I'll see you in the next one.